Hi, everyone. I'm Carli.
And I'm Sophia.
And this is Away She Goes, a podcast from girls who travel.
Each episode will help you feed your wanderlust with travel tips, stories, inspiration, and more. Away she goes. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Away She Goes. Today, we have something very special for you. A bit out of the ordinary. It's a bit more festival travel because we just had festival season all over the world. And with not diving too much into climate change, even in our biggest metal festival in Germany, we had some messy weather. And in the US, very prominent recently, Burning Man. But we don't just want to focus on the bad stuff. We also want to talk about festivals in general and especially Burning Man. So here with us, we have Jacobina, who's a fellow Girls Who Travel member. And maybe you want to introduce yourself. I think you've been volunteering with Burning Man for like 10 years or something?
For 8 years.
That's still a lot.
Time.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So thank you for the invitation. It's very exciting being here. So my name is Jacobina Rivera. I am Mexican. I live in Estonia though. So it's always an adventure going from Estonia to Burning Man every single year. And I volunteer with Girls Who Travel. I am assisting with the Instagram accounts. So it's very interesting learning the whole new world of social media and Instagram.
Nice. So if you message us, dear listener, on Instagram, your message might end up at Jacobina. Sorry for mispronouncing your name earlier.
All good. It's in Spanish, so it's fine.
So for those of our listeners who may not know, I think a lot of people just kind of anecdotally know that Burning Man is a festival, but like to me, that was like the extent of my knowledge of it until very recently. So can you just kind of briefly explain to our listeners what Burning Man is in general, kind of what it's all about, what the whole premise is?
So let's start from it is not a festival.
Okay.
So,
see, we're learning something new already.
Yeah, I understand why that idea comes to the mind. Like the first time that I went, I started in 2015. So the first time I also thought it was a festival, and it was a big mistake because so what Burning Man is, I had been attending 8 years. I don't know what it is. It is an experience. For me, it was a life-changing experience. It's a city that we built in the middle of the desert, in Black Rock Desert in Nevada. It is around 80,000 people. Like it has been growing through the years. It is a community that we create. It is full of art. I have never seen all the expressions and creativity that I have seen in Burning Man anywhere else in the world. And I travel a lot. I have been in 76 countries so far, and Burning Man is the most beautiful place. Well, like the city that is Black Rock City is the most beautiful place I have ever seen every single time. So it is important to mention that why is not a festival if I'm saying all this, right? And we can see on Instagram, on Facebook, and all social media, like these very cool influencers and models and famous people just attending. So we have 10 principles. Some people say that there is an 11th principle as well, but officially we have 10. And one of the most important is radical self-reliance. What does this mean? You need to bring everything that you require to survive the time that you will be there. That means that there is no money involved. There is a different type of economy, like one is gifting, like the other principle that we have. And it's not an exchange economy. It's not like I have item A and I will exchange it for item B. No, it's just we go there, we deal with people in all their expressions, right? There are 80,000 people who are going there to express themselves. And it's wonderful seeing how, without judgment, the potential that people can reach. Like, I had been seeing all these wonderful human beings around that I will never see outside, because we are living in very different parts of the world or in very different realities. But there they can be themselves in a safe space. So that's why I love it. That's why I keep attending. And that's why I am a volunteer for them. Yeah.
So you said you've attended since 2015. So this was your eighth year
Yes.
attending. So if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about what happened this year. You know, I've always known, again, very just superficially what Burning Man is, but this year, like, it was on the news. Even like my mom, who doesn't know anything about like current events, pop culture, any of that, was like, oh my God, look at what's happening. She called it a festival too. Look what's happening at this festival. And I was like, hey, I know somebody who's there. So tell us a little bit about, you know, what specifically happened this year that was different than previous years, and maybe what your experience was personally.
Of course. So the general fact is there was a hurricane passing through the desert, right? So the probability that that happens is very, very
So
low.
low. My brother lives in Los Angeles and he said everybody just doesn't know what to do.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's a desert.
Yeah.
I, definitely, it's not something that you expect. Actually, there is a survival guide at Burning Man, like on the website, and they describe it as something like in the very remote possibility of rain, right? Because that's not something that happens there. Actually, the last rain that happened, it was in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, and it wasn't like this. It definitely wasn't like this. So the fact is that there was rain, heavy rain. For myself, there was two stages of rain because I arrived earlier. I am volunteering with this part of the crew who arrives like 1 week earlier and starts working to prepare the city for the participants. The participants arrive on Sunday. Well, we open the gate on Sunday, so we need to be there 1 week in advance, and we have 7 days to make it happen. So that's the fact. And I I arrived before, and I went through one of the very big rains that happened. So for us, it was easier because we had been there for a long time already. Almost everyone who arrives earlier is because they are working there. They have been working there for like ever. It's not their first burn. The second rain came, I think it was on Thursday night or Friday night, when the participants were there. So um, the desert at Burning Man is like the sand. It's more like dust. It's very interesting because it's like clay. So whenever it gets wet, it's
Mud.
almost impossible to go through
Oh
it.
God.
Yeah, it's very painful.
Oh God.
So yeah, and there is nothing you can do. You know, it's the rain is the force of the nature there, and if you try to defeat that, you will always lose. So it's just accepting the fact that you are there with your own means. You better be prepared. You don't know how prepared you will be, or if you are prepared for surviving like the storm until you go through it, right? So it was very interesting. Like, my experience was my best burn ever. It was very, very difficult for myself. Like, I live in Estonia. We don't have deserts. I am Mexican, but from where I am, like, there are no deserts. I don't
Right. And
know
even
how to deal
then,
with desert.
it doesn't rain in the desert usually anyway.
Yeah,
So,
that's the
Anyway,
definition.
right. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm coming from Estonia, which means like my equipment is very minimalist, right? I have like part of my equipment, my luggage, like all over California. There are tons of my friends who are helping me with that because it's very, very complicated to cross an ocean with all that. But it was at the beginning for myself, it was terrifying because I have never seen that. I have never went through that or like seeing the whole storm just coming, and the only thing that you can do is prepare yourself and surrender. So it was at the beginning, like the first rain, we were trying to prepare as a team because of course there is not just the rain, right? You need to prepare for everything to be secure so no one can be hurt. Yeah, just trust your guts, trust your preparation, trust your experience, like the previous experience at Burning Man, and surrender. I think that was one of the biggest learnings that I got from this year. Like there are so many things that are out of your control, but you just need to go through it.
Wow. So you said something interesting, which was that this was your favorite burn, your best burn ever. So that kind of answers my next question, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you had known ahead of time what was going to happen, would you still have gone this year?
I will attend every single year as yeah, if I can afford it to come from Estonia, I'll do it. It's my it's my happy place. It's my home. It's my favorite place to be. If I will known how difficult it will be this year, I will make more research about it and definitely like I don't know, bring up proper boots or I don't know, like the way we survive is because in our campus there are very experienced people. They have been there for decades, right? They have seen everything. So just following instructions, like people who know what might happen, because this was an extraordinary circumstances, right? Like we didn't know as a team, we didn't know what was happening, but this just preparing to receive the storm and keep going.
Wow. Circling back to you just said that Burning Man is your happy place, so you probably have many, many favorite Burning Man stories. Would you mind sharing some of those from previous years, maybe, with us?
Yeah, I have so many magical memories there. I like what you see there, it's something that you cannot see anywhere else. I really like art. I'm super into art. I like attending there. I'm going alone, by the way. Like every single year, Burning Man is my alone thing. I
Do you go solo
just
every
go.
year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's my thing.
I like that.
I like that too.
It's kind of my experience. Yes, I just like going there and um lose myself in the desert. It's a survival experience. You can learn a lot from there. And I think that attending alone, like doing this solo, opens a lot of opportunities to meet people and to engage with people in a different way. So perhaps like my favorite moments is when we have this whiteout because of the dust. You know, you have like all these dust storms and you cannot see like 1 meter away from you. So I love like just going with my bike and seeing how huge art it's just popping up and then disappearing on the like on the dust. It's surreal for me. It's like the idea of another planet, like the idea of another reality. And even when how people just you engage with people very different from this reality that we call default world, because we do not have like it was given to us, right? We don't have like any control over it, but there you do. So we here in the default world we learned that everything, all engagement, all relationships are based on money, right? Like any single transaction is based on money. And then you arrive there and there is no money, right? Like, oh my God, how do I learn to engage with people and relate with people without this very important thing that I had been taught in the default world, that is the most important, right? So I don't know, but perhaps this year one of my favorite moments was I this was my 8th year and I haven't had my own bike because it's complicated, right? Like taking it out, taking it to Estonia, where should I storage it? Like it's just complicated. So I went to a camp and someone built a bike for me. And I call it like it's a Frankenstein bike. So it's Frankie, that's her name.
That's sweet.
And I love my bike because it was like I'm a short person, right? So it was made just like the exact height for me. It was just perfect. So like all this process of seeing how to build the bike, I have never seen that. And I don't know how bikes work like magic, right? So seeing all this process and all these people building that for other people and just giving it away, it was wonderful. Um, yeah, like also I think one of my most special moments are two is we have an orchestra, a philharmonic. It's the Black Rock City
Just out in the
Philharmonic.
desert?
Yeah, it's a
Wow.
city, like every city has an orchestra, right?
That's
So,
true.
yeah,
That's true.
like we're proper city.
I guess so.
So it's very funny because some people think that we are just a bunch of hippies raving at the desert. And I have never seen or I have never been in a place with that huge amount of very high prepared trained people in very different fields, right? You can just go around your bike and then crash on a camp that they are talking about science or astronomics, or like they are having these very deep conversations about things that I don't understand, right? That I will never see in this default world. So we have an orchestra and they are very talented people, very, very talented musicians. And what they do is they have like in advance, of course, what they're going to play in very specific days of the week. And they arrive to Black Rock City and they rehearse for the very first time during the early days of the week. So then they perform, I think, 3 times around the city. It's huge. It's very there are so many sensations in there because I love music. I love classical music, and when I see them performing, it's very different what I see in the default world because we have this idea of classic music being very high profile, very proper, very elegant, and then you see all these people just expressing themselves in very different ways on their outfit, but performing so professionally there, right? And there are so much love, so many sensations, thousands of people around just enjoying that. So definitely that's one of my highlights every single year. Like every year I attend to their performance. And the second one is when we burn the temple. So normally we have one building, I'll say, it is a building, that it's a temple. It not necessarily is like for a religion itself or based on a single religion itself. The design changes every year, and you go there to leave the pain, to leave what hurts. So you will find this building in the middle of the desert that is a very beautiful building, I need to say, um, full of letters, pictures, objects, everything just that you want to burn, that you want to be free of that. So yeah, every year if I have something that is hurting, if I have something that is very complicated for my life, I go there, I write a letter, I put it there, and seeing it burn, it really, really feels very good inside. It's a very different ceremony from the one that is when the man burns, that is on Saturday, because that's a huge party, like the biggest
So
party
they're
I have ever
separate.
seen.
That's what I
Yes.
was wondering. So these are two separate things. Okay.
Yes. Those are the main ones. Like we burn a lot of things around the week,
Right.
but the main ones on Saturday, historically speaking, the man burns on Saturday, but this year, circumstances, it was burned on Monday. And as far as I understand, it's the first time in the history of the band that this happens on Monday.
Wow.
So they said that was the oldest man in the history of Burning Man.
Wow.
So historically speaking, this happens on Saturday. This is a huge party. You can see like all these art cars around with thousands and thousands of people just having a great time of their lives, right? And on Sunday, we gather around the temple, but everything is in silence. It's a very, very sacred moment for everyone, and it's a very powerful thing. Even going inside the temple, going inside the building itself before being born, it's very intense. I have never felt that intensity in other place that is not the temple itself. So definitely those are my highlights of every single year. Yeah.
So it sounds like it's so for somebody who's just attending, like if I were to attend, I would get there on Monday, Sunday, and be there for a whole week. That's how long it typically lasts.
Yeah, I mean, you can go as many, like you can stay the whole week, or you can just go like a few days, right? Like you have a ticket, and the ticket is your right to be there. But it doesn't state that you need to be the whole week. You can't leave earlier. Like some people, they just leave before the man burns. Some other people like stay the whole week as a participant. As volunteers or staff, there are some people who live there for months, right?
Wow.
To clear and to clean everything, because one of our principles is leave no trace. So the idea of this is, yes, we go there, yes, we party, yes, we have the best moment of our life, but still everything needs to be clean and try to not impact the environment as much. And everything, I think that's another important difference between a festival and Burning Man. Everything that you bring with you, you need to take it back with you. Everything. So that makes you responsible not just for your own existence, but all your belongings. You need to take it back with you because that's part of the principles. Leave no trace.
I'm gonna be honest. So I am not one for like camping at all. I do not like sleeping in tents. I do not like being outside at night. And it's actually so for those listeners who don't know, we're doing a Girls Who Travel safari group trip in the fall of 2024. And Jacobina and I are both going on that trip. So very excited. As we were kind of coming up with the idea for that trip, there is camping involved in that trip. There's like a night or two where we are camping. And Arden and Jenny asked me as we were picking the itinerary, like, hey, are you sure you want to do this? There's camp. Like, that's how much people know that I do not like camping. And I said for this trip, like, yeah, I'll do it. It's Africa. I'm on a safari. It's fine. You're making me want to go to Burning Man. And I never thought about it before. I never thought it would be something I would enjoy, but now I'm like, I could do that. That sounds I could camp for that. So
Join
now
us.
I'm thinking about going to Burning Man.
Yeah, I don't like camping either. Like,
okay. Well, that makes me feel better.
Camping.
Okay. Me too.
I literally just camp for that.
And that's it.
Now that you mentioned like Africa, right? But that's like I just have a tent for Burning Man. Well, I have a tent here in the States for that, and in Europe for the regionals of Burning Man, because I keep burning like around the year in different places in Europe. But yeah, like join us. I think
I'm thinking about it now. I'm very tempted to.
Yes. I think it's one at least once in a lifetime.
Yeah, I feel like I should just try it once.
See, like if you don't like it, you don't like it, right?
Right.
Like, and
Right.
it's fine because it's rough. It can be very rough. It can be very intense in so
Mhm.
many levels. But yeah, just give it a try. And if you like it, like myself, it took me two Burning Mans to understand if it was my thing or not.
Okay.
Because I like the first one, I did totally wrong. I like everything wrong. I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
But and the second time, I was like, no, I need to go back. Like, I'm not sure if I like it or not, if this is my thing or not. So second try.
Give it another.
And now I'm super into it. Like, yeah.
All right. Yeah. I don't like, I mean, I kind of said to Arden and Jenny, I'm like, listen, like, if I'm in Africa on a safari in like Botswana, I can't really be too critical of if I'm in a tent or not. Like I kind of just have to deal with it. So yes, we are camping in Africa very briefly also.
Good to know.
Yeah. So one last thing before we wrap up, for people now like me who are listening to this and are like, okay, that kind of sounds like I may like it. What do you want to tell people who are considering attending Burning Man in the future?
There are so many tutorials like on YouTube of burners that they have been there, I don't know, 20 years, 25 years, right? There are many survival guides. So I'll definitely, if I could start again, and not going through this very complicated first experience because I didn't make my research properly, I will totally suggest that if you are thinking about attending, especially alone, you better do your research on the internet. Currently, there are so many resources, so many blogs, YouTube channels, Instagram accounts, everything. But I will suggest to do it with people who are burners, who had been there for many years, rather than influencers. Because there are so many models, influencers, famous people that they go there, but they have a very different experience. Um, and I will suggest that just try to contact your regional network. There are contacts all over the world. You can check on the burningman.org, like the regional network, and see and engage with the community in the States. There are so many Burning Man communities. And just start talking with people who had been there for several years and what will they suggest, because I have a list every single year, like, okay, so I need this for next year, or I need to implement this idea, because we are all there trying to solve the same problems of existence itself in different ways, right? So one, two brains work better than one, and 80,000 work better than one, right? So the way that they will solve uh, some issues, some problems might be very different from myself. So I keep like a list of them. But yeah, definitely like the survival guides, 100%.
This is what I'm going to research this afternoon now because I'm interested in going.
Beautiful.
Nice. I think that wraps up the episode quite nicely. I certainly learned a lot today, like Burning Man is not a festival. Very embarrassing on my
Same.
part.
Didn't know that either. I
more
was
of a
like, yeah, it's a
Festive
festival.
gathering of sorts. And just
Yeah,
an
like
experience.
An experience.
an event, a community, a city. Like, I mean, it's 80,000 people city.
That's a
That's a
lot.
big city.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have
Bigger
an
than my
orchestra,
hometown.
like any city.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, you should join us. You should come and see. And also something that I will recommend, especially in Europe, for example, with people who will like to attend, is before spending that amount of money to try to come to the States, to the desert, first try one small gathering or one small event in your regional network to see if the vibe matches or not. Because the vibe, like these regional events are based on the principles as well. So the vibe is it's like similar. Definitely, like for example, the one in Lithuania, it's in a forest. So it changes a lot, but people and the vibe and the principles are kind of the same. So that's something that I will also suggest. Instead of going and spending all this amount of money and time, because it requires a lot of time of preparation in the desert just to test if it's your thing or not, I'll definitely suggest going to a smaller one to test if it's your vibe or not.
It's a good suggestion. And before we wrap up, where can our listeners find you? Obviously, you work on the Girls Who Travel Instagram page. That's at Girls Who Travel. But where can our listeners find you personally if they want to get in touch with you or kind of follow your adventures?
Sure. So it's Jacobina, just like Jacovina, Jacobina. 316 on Instagram, or secret.mexican.society.
Perfect. And I'll put those in the episode description. I also will put the main Burning Man website in the episode description as well. If anybody wants to check that out, research smaller, local, regional events near them, or research like the big event. I'll make that easy for people to find also.
Yes, that will be amazing.
That's all for this episode. If you'd like more Away She Goes in your life, make sure to stop by girlswhotravel.org/podcast. That's where you can fill out a form if you're interested in being a guest on the show. You can also write to us at awayshegoesgwt@gmail.com or leave us a message on our Google voicemail from any phone or computer at 1-563-503-6323. To follow our adventures, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Carli Sees the World. Carli is spelled Carli.
You can also follow me at Sophia AEZ, Sophia with a PH. Away She Goes is part of Girls Who Travel, a community dedicated to radically redefining travel to be inclusive, sustainable, and empowering. You can learn more about GWT, find travel tips and support, shop travel-themed items made by GWT members, and join our Facebook group with nearly 100,000 women all around the world at girlswhotravel.org. We can't wait to connect and explore with you. Away she goes.